So here's a question for you. Can a luxury watch, something you wear on your wrist, actually be considered a serious financial asset? It's a debate you hear everywhere, from watch forums all the way to high-end auction houses. Okay, let's really dive into this and see what the data actually tells us.
So let's just cut right to the chase. Is a stainless steel sports watch a better place to park your money than, say, the S&P 500? It sounds kind of like a crazy question, right? But stick with me, because the answer might just surprise you.
All right, let's kick things off with some data that might just blow your mind. If you look at the decade between 2011 and 2021, we saw this incredible super cycle. And during that time, the prices for Rolex watches on the secondary market actually beat out heavyweights like the S&P 500 and even gold. I mean, it was fueled by everything from low interest rates to the explosion of social media and new wealth. It was an absolutely incredible run. So how did we even get here? How in the world did a watchmaker become an asset class?
To really get a handle on the value today, we've got to rewind. We have to go back to the beginning. Because the Rolex legend, it wasn't built on some slick marketing hype. Nope. It was forged, piece by piece, through decades of just relentless innovation. It all kicks off in 1905. The founder, Hans Wilsdorf, he wanted a name that was short, sharp, and easy for anyone to say in any language. And by 1910, a Rolex was the first wristwatch ever to get a chronometer certificate for its precision. So you see, from day one, the entire focus was on one thing: performance. Now, this is where Rolex really cemented its reputation, with three absolute game-changing inventions. First up, in 1926, the Oyster case made watches waterproof. Game changer. Then, in 1931, the perpetual rotor gave us the self-winding movement that's still the standard today. And finally, in 1945, the Datejust introduced the automatically changing date window. I mean, these weren't just new features. They literally defined what a modern watch is.
So, with this rock-solid foundation of reliability, Rolex moves into what a lot of people call its tool watch era. And this is so cool. They started designing watches specifically for the world's most demanding professionals. We're talking pilots, deep-sea divers, scientists, even mountaineers. These things were built to take a beating and survive the harshest conditions you can imagine.
And you know what happens when you build something that good? You get a serious fan base, like a really passionate one. Just take the Submariner. I mean, that's the dive watch, right? Collectors have given all the different versions these amazing nicknames. You've got the green bezeled Kermit, the bigger all-green Hulk, and the new black and green Starbucks. And it's the exact same story for the GMT-Master, the legendary pilot's watch. That classic red and blue bezel, that's the Pepsi. The modern blue and black, that's the Batman. And the newest left-handed model, people call it the Sprite. You see? These aren't just watches anymore. They're full-blown collectibles with their own secret language.
Okay, so you've got this incredible history, this legendary quality. What does that all mean for the market today? Well, it created this massive, massive demand. And that demand has led to this kind of weird modern phenomenon where you literally cannot just walk into a store and buy the model you want.
And all that scarcity, it gave birth to something called the gray market. Now, you got to understand this concept. It's absolutely key. And no, it's not illegal or shady. It's basically a secondary market. A whole network of professional resellers where you can get pretty much any watch you want right now, if you're willing to pay up, that is.
All right, guys, today we're going to go over the top 10 best-selling Rolex models in the market and what people are asking for. Number one, obviously, we all know is the Daytona. Black dial, Daytona. Yeah. Panda, Daytona. You got the Oyster flexes are always super, super popular. You have the Pikachu Daytona, which is extremely popular. This gets a really crazy high.
Let me give you a real-world example so this really clicks. The official retail price, the MSRP, for that iconic Pepsi GMT-Master 2 is right around $11,000. That's what you should pay if you're one of the lucky few to get the call from an authorized dealer. But head over to the gray market, you're suddenly looking at closer to $23,000, sometimes even more. That huge gap, that's the premium for instant gratification. You're basically paying to skip the line.
So you're probably asking, why is there a line in the first place? Well, here's the thing about that infamous wait list. It's not really a list, not in the first come, first served way you'd think. It's more of an interest list, and the dealers have all the power. They decide who gets the watches. And the key? It's all about your purchase history. The more you spent with them on other things, the better your chances. For the really hot models, a new customer could be waiting for years, or, forever.
So, all of this brings us right back to where we started. With these kinds of prices and this kind of market, how does a Rolex actually perform when you put it head-to-head with a traditional investment? like the stock market, over the long haul.
Let's zoom way out. Let's look at a 50-year showdown. And here, well, the power of Wall Street really flexes its muscles. Let's say you bought a Submariner back in 1974 for about $450. Today, it's worth a very respectable $12,000, maybe $15,000. Not bad at all. But if you'd put that same $450 into an S&P 500 index fund and reinvested all the dividends, you'd be looking at over $75,000. That right there is the unstoppable magic of compounding.
Okay, but what if we look at a more modern time frame? Let's say the last 25 years or so. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting. The annualized return you get from an average Rolex sports watch is basically neck and neck with the S&P 500's price growth, if you don't count dividends. The stock market really only pulls away once you add those crucial dividend payments back into the mix.
And this comparison, it just perfectly highlights what these two things are for. The S&P 500, it is the undisputed champ for pure, raw capital growth. It's super easy to buy and sell, and it's got that compounding superpower. A Rolex, though, it's a different beast. It's a phenomenal way to store value, a great hedge against inflation, and it pays out something a stock portfolio never can, what collectors like to call dividends of pleasure.
But we also have to be realistic here and talk about the hidden costs. I mean, your stock portfolio doesn't need a $1,000 service every 10 years, right? You don't have to buy insurance for it. And when you go to sell your stocks, you're not handing over a 10 or 20% commission to a dealer. These carrying costs are a huge piece of the puzzle you just can't ignore.
All right, so after digging into the history, the crazy market dynamics, and the cold, hard data, where do we land? What's the final verdict? Is a Rolex a true asset, or is it just a really, really nice accessory?
You know, this quote, I think, just perfectly sums up the unique magic of Rolex. Just think about it for a second. What other thing can you buy, use every single day, enjoy for 20 years, and then probably sell for a profit? A car? Nope. Your computer? Definitely not. It's a ridiculously short list.
So here it is, the bottom line. If your single number one goal is to maximize every dollar and grow your wealth for the future, the numbers don't lie. The S&P 500 is the clear winner. But if your goal is different, if you want to preserve your wealth in a beautiful physical object that you can actually use and enjoy every single day of your life, well then Rolex is in a class all by itself.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question, one that a spreadsheet can't really answer. Sure, the S&P 500 might give you a bigger number in your bank account down the line, but what's the true return on an investment you can wear every day? What's the value of something that brings you a little bit of joy every time you glance down at your wrist? Well, that's a number that only you can calculate.